Now we're going to align the front wheels. We have to make sure that the front wheels are absolutely parallel. That means that the distance between the front or leading edge of the tires, this distance here, equals the same distance on the trailing edges. To do that, we're going to use these steering linkages here, which have adjustments on the inboard and the outboard rod ends. These are both male threads going into the female rod end, but one is a left-hand thread and one's a right-hand thread. What we're going to do is take the 14mm wrench that we have here, and we're going to loosen up these nuts, and you'll have to look at the threads to see which way to rotate them to make sure they're loose. Okay, and you can see that if I rotate this steering linkage rod here, I can move that tire toe in or toe out. There's toe in, here's toe out. We're going to make sure that these nuts are also loose on both sides, so that we can rotate both of these and move the tires symmetrically inward or outward. Ideally, you want the distance from the middle of this rod end to the middle of this rod end to be equal to the middle of this one and that one when you're finished aligning. So that not only do you have the wheels parallel, but you also have the linkages the same length on both sides. Now, you'll need your 14mm wrenches and tighten it against this rod end to hold the adjustment after it's made. To adjust your front wheels or align them, you're going to need a tape measure to measure from the center of that tire tread to the center of this tire tread, and then the same thing on the back side, from the center of this one to the center of this one, to make sure that they are equal distance. Okay. You also want your tires pumped up so that there's no flexibility in the tire and you're measuring right from the center of the tread. This measures here at 26 1/8. Back here it's 26. So the tires are a little bit out this way. I'm going to rotate these in just a tad, a little bit on each side, and then measure it again. And now I've got 26, a little bit less than 1/8 there, 26, and a little bit less than 1/8 there, so they're parallel. So at this point, I just have to lock that adjustment in place. Now you'll notice that these nuts, they rotate in this direction to tighten up against this rod end. Same way on both sides, because one's a left thread and one's a right thread. So we're going to rotate these rod ends both in the same position all the way forward when we tighten these nuts. Okay, so the rod end is all the way forward. We're going to take this 14mm, we're going to snug that up a little bit there. Snug this rod end up, that jam nut there. And what that does, now that we have these rod ends rotated to the same degree, it means that this rod end can rotate all the way back, forward and backward on both ends. Okay, same thing on this side. These nuts rotate in this direction to tighten up. So we're going to rotate both rod ends in this direction and then tighten up those jam nuts right there. And they just have to be snug. They don't be over tightened because they're not going to go anywhere. Alright, now these rod ends also can rotate all the way forward and backward. That means that as this vehicle leans from left to right, these rod ends will never reach their limit. They'll always be able to spin. Last thing to do is, after you adjust that, is to go ahead and check it. After you tighten the nuts, check it and make sure that it's okay. 26 and a little bit less than 1/8. 26 and about a 1/16. So it's perfectly aligned. That means these tires are going to go down the road and they're going to be perfectly parallel.